Welcome back to the kitchen. It is, I don't know what day it is. No, I really don't know what day it is. We are making pizza today. We're making homemade pizza. My husband doesn't eat pizza unless it's made by us. So I have got some, about a cup of warm water in here, and I've added a good tablespoon of honey, and I've just mixed it up so that the honey sort of dissolves, and we have added 2 teaspoons of yeast, granulated yeast. You're going to ask what that looks like, aren't you? So come and have a look at this, because it's been sitting here for 5 minutes and it's just starting to react. Okay, come on, do something. Yeast? No, not while you're watching. So let me get that yeast and I'll show you what it looks like. This is a wee packet of the yeast. Can you see it? Little grains, and you can buy it in the shops, pretty much anywhere. You can buy it anywhere. You can buy it Countdown, you can buy it in your world. Okay, so all I've done is added a couple of teaspoons to this, and all I'm going to do is add enough flour to mix it so that it becomes a soft dough. So I don't know how much that's going to be, because some flours are more absorbent than others. So that's our recipe for the base. Okay, so a cup of warm water, a tablespoon of honey, and a couple of teaspoons of yeast. Now, and flour to mix it into a dough, to a soft dough. If you've got a bigger family, then double the recipe. If you've got a smaller family, then halve the recipe, because really all we want to make is a couple of good bases. Okay, for us, see, a couple of bases. We need a couple of big bases, and this should do us. This should do us. I'll show you how to make a base like this, and I'll show you also how to make a thin base one. Okay, so see you soon. I have used wholemeal flour for this, because it just makes me feel a bit better about myself, and we're just not eating white flour all the time. But I've added a little bit of white flour just so that it's a soft but not sticky dough. So I'm going to oil down my clean bench and my hands. Maybe that's a wee bit much oil. Yeah, it was. Never mind. Okay, and just give it a wee mix. Just a mix. It doesn't have to be a knead. Okay, so some of you have asked, have you got an easy no-knead bread? This is it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape that out, tip that in the bin, wash this out, and stick this back in there with into an oiled bowl. That makes sense? That makes sense, Liz?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So give me a few minutes to do that, and then I'm going to let it sit in a basin of hot water so that it's going to rise. This is probably going to take about half an hour before it's going to start to activate the yeast. Just as we had the water in there when I showed you before, the yeast had just started to activate. So sometimes you can see it bubbling up and popping up. It's really cool to watch, real science experiment. So let me do this and let this thing get warm and start to activate and rise, because that's what we want it to do. The yeast will start to make the flour rise, and so that we get a nice fluffy base. So give me a few minutes and I'll show you what that looks like. So I've mixed up my dough, and I've oiled the bowl, and I've got it sitting in some relatively hand hot water, and I'm just going to cover it with a towel, a clean tea towel, and let it sit there for a little bit. In the meanwhile, we are going to get our mince. Let me find a knife for it. We've got some pork mince, and we're going to make, can you remember those Asian meatballs that we made, pork meatballs? What did we make that for? Miso soup. Yeah, miso soup, that was a bomb. So I'm just going to put a packet of mince, and I'm thinking that that's probably 500 grams or thereabouts in here. It's going to make a lot of meatballs, but they're so good. And I'm going to add a little bit of sesame oil. If you have not been introduced to sesame oil, you've got to try this stuff, because not only does it smell good, it tastes flippin' amazing. And we are going to add, for the sake of you guys who like measurements, we're going to add about half a tablespoon of sesame oil. Oh, you can just smell it, it's so good. And we are going to add a couple of tablespoons, generous tablespoons of teriyaki sauce, just any sort of teriyaki sauce that you get in the shops. Just be careful, because some of the teriyaki sauces, they taste good because they contain a lot of sugar, and I'm not going to tell you because my eyes are so bad. but I'm thinking, oh, that's 15% sugar. There's some of them that have like 35% sugar. So just have a look at the labels when you read them. And I'm going to add a little bit of, no, not that. I'm going to add some grated ginger and some fresh garlic into this and mix it up so that it's all ready. I'm just going to make it into wee balls, okay, or mix it up anyway so that we can put it on top of our pizza. So give me a few minutes to do that. I'll get Liz to do that. What am I doing? Okay, and then we'll go from there. Adding about maybe 3 good sized cloves of garlic that we chopped up and added to this, and probably about a teaspoon of ginger. So if you like more ginger, then add more ginger. If you don't like as much garlic, then you know, you're bright people, figure it out. I'm going to salt and pepper it. Just give it a little bit of salt and pepper, and then we're going to get our sauce ready. So I've got some tomato paste, and I'm going to add, oh, did that just squirt over me? A little pig. Right, oh, it keeps making a mess. Right, that is, oh no, for Pete's sake, about that much. How much is that?
Oh gosh.
Looks like about a third of a cup, that'll do. A third of a cup, and about the same with teriyaki sauce. About there, so a third and a third. And we're going to mix that up, and we're going to use that as paste for the pizza base. Okay. Now I'm going to chop up a red onion, a small red onion. I'm going to chop this up, but I won't need it all. And I'm also going to grate, I have a zucchini. Now I have to confess that normally I buy in season. I totally buy in season, but I bought a zucchini the other day at, don't hang me, it was 28 bucks a kilo. So this one tiny little zucchini flipping cost me something ridiculous like $2. $2 for one zucchini, so sacrilege, but I got it anyway. So if you haven't got zucchinis, don't use zucchinis. If you've got capsicum, put capsicum on it. Okay, just figure out what you're going to have on your pizza. Hey, now listen, also as a shout out here, this recipe is a derivation. It derives from the recipe from Nadia Lim. Okay, so this is her kaupapa here, really, that we're just sort of adapting to meet ours. So we've got our mince ready, we've got our sauce ready. I'm going to chop up the veg, and hopefully, yep, doesn't look like it's moving at all. But hopefully this is going to start growing in the next 15 minutes. So let that settle for a bit longer, and we're going to get the rest of the ingredients ready for another pizza as well. So we're going to make a sort of a teriyaki pork inspired pizza with that base, and we are going to make a chicken, mushroom and tomato, isn't it? Just tomato pizza. Whatever we've got in the fridge. It's just a whatever you've got in the fridge pizza. We're going to have one of those. But we're going to do it on the wrap basis. So it's going to be a really thin pizza. Okay, so give me a few minutes. I'm going to get the rest of the stuff together while this thing's doing its thing, taking its time, and we'll go from there. Just remember also that when you do make your own base, that you need to give yourself time for it to rise, otherwise it's going to be doughy or a bit firm or a bit stodgy or whatever you want to call it. So it's not a fast process, but it's yummy and the family like it, whereas using the wraps is super fast, and it's like a 10-minute pizza and it's on the table. Okay, so give me a few minutes and I'll show you what that looks like. So I've got some wraps which are still a little bit frozen from the deep freeze, and I'm going to use this as a base. And all I'm going to do is put a little bit of the pasta and teriyaki sauce that we put in here, because I'm not going to use any other sauce. Spread it around and chuck whatever you've got on the pizza that you've got in your fridge. So have a look and see what you've got that you can chuck on to make it taste good. If you've got bacon, chuck in bacon. If you haven't got bacon, don't use it. We've got chicken today because it was on special, so I picked it up and it was cheap. And mushrooms, and onions and tomatoes, and that's all I'm going to put on this one. That's it. And make sure that you go right to the edge, because nobody likes a dry pizza, right? Nobody likes a dry pizza. And then I'm going to chuck some cheese on top, and that's about it. And then by that time we'll be able to get the other pizza going, because this should just about be ready. It's starting to rise, it's a bit slow, but it'll do. I've had a gutful of waiting. So let's leave it to us, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute, eh? I got my dough out, and it's sufficiently, well, it's risen enough. I'm not that patient. So if I left it for a little bit longer, it might be a bit fluffier, but we'll just take a chance, eh? I'm just going to flatten it out now. Just a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick to me. And this is going to be our big pizza. Now, it needs to be relatively thin, because otherwise you're just going to be eating bread with topping. Okay, so it's not round, it's just practical to fit my tray. Now, some people have been asking why I haven't taken my rings off. It's because my fingers are too fat and I can't do them unless they get surgically removed. So I make sure that I wash my hands beforehand and I don't pick my nose. Not often anyway, not when I'm cooking food. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do with my base, because I want to keep it on the paper, only because I hate dishes. And anything I can get away with, then I'll get away with it. So that'll do. I'm going to chuck my topping on, my sauce on rather, my teriyaki and tomato paste sauce. So this is lots of flavour. Then I'm just going to chuck on little blobs of the mince, raw, okay? It doesn't have to be cooked, because they're only small amounts, and it will cook in the oven. Now if you have a look over here, Brooklyn's already done some. This is the one that we did with cheese on top. This is the one with the little blobs of mince as well, because we just thought, well, let's do it as well. Like I said, you can make any pizza that you want, any flavour that you like. We like smoked chicken and cream cheese.
Yum.
Yeah, that's good with plum sauce as a base.
It's my favourite one.
We like, what else do we like?
We normally do that one quite a lot.
Yeah, we do, and I can't think of anything else. Okay, right. I'm going to get my hands in here, and I'm just going to blob little blobs of this meat over here around the place. So it's going to be a pork, and it smells so good. Unbelievably good because of that flippin' sesame oil. It's so good. So let me do this. Let me scatter this around, because you don't want to watch me do this. And I'm going to put the onions on after this, and the zucchini, that expensive. Have a look at that zucchini. That is a lot of money in there. That flipping zucchini costs a lot of money. Just so that I can show you how to do this pizza. Care of Nadia Lim. Good job, Nadia. Love your work. So give us a few minutes and then I'll show you what it all looks like, eh? A little bit lazy. I bought a bag of grated cheese, but it was on special. So just a wee bit of cheese and some sesame seeds. Now if you haven't got sesame seeds, don't use them, but if you have, mate, these are the goods. I love sesame seeds. So sprinkle that on your pizza. Save that for the next one. And then we're going to chuck these in the oven and make up the other ones, and we'll show you what they look like when they're finished, eh? The pizzas are out, the ones that we did. This is our big base pizza. Our pizza here, and it's out, and it looks flippin' good. It smells good, and it's nice and not too thick, but nice, and it's wholemeal, because it makes me feel good about myself. These are the wraps here. These ones probably take about 15 minutes. So that took about 20 minutes. This took about 15 minutes. My tweens will eat one of those. It'll fit a whole dinner plate, and they will hoover one by themselves. So just note to self that if you've got 2 adults, and you'll need 2 of those. Okay, unless you're very small conservative eaters. We are not conservative eaters.
We are not.
No, we're not. So we've made a quick salad with some, whatever we've got in the kitchen, broccoli and carrots and bits and pieces, and I'm just going to put some tangelo in there, just to make it smell good. Now, hey, listen, I also have to have my disclaimer as well. I don't normally buy grated cheese. It was a really lazy day today. So it's much cheaper if you buy a kilo of cheese and grate it up yourself. It's actually not that much effort. Yeah, so I'm trying to sort myself out, all right? I'm trying to go to rehab on that one. Anyway, that's it. That's what our dinner looks like tonight. Super yum, pretty quick, apart from the dough, okay? Super quick with these ones, and use whatever you've got. This is a good way to use leftovers. If you've got like kumara wedges, and you can put those on. If you've got some leftover chili, do the chili thing, and then chuck some guacamole on top after it's done. Yeah. Okay, anything that you've got. So, and again, thank you to Nadia Lynn for your fab recipe. Whoop whoop, love your work. And that's us for tonight. And I hope you're well. I hope you're looking after each other. That's it. Take care. Take it easy.